therefore, rarely fell on those officers who hobnobbed with him at these blowouts, and he rarely embarrassed those who were actually his informants by asking them to pass along intelligence goodies on such occasions. He did his best work in moving elevators or at the Tchaikovsky concert hall, where proximities were natural and bugs didn't work. There, the passage of information was more like amiable conversation and less like treason, thus easing the morning-after guilts of idealistic Russians who had sold themselves the fiction that the sharing of truths with the United States would eventuate in a better, more peaceful world. As he watched a flight of Sturmovix that snarled past, bellies nearly brushing the restless snow, he thought of all those idealistic Americans who believed that sharing truths with the Soviet Union would bring a better, more peaceful world. Why not, he wondered irritably, bundle up those Russians and Americans who thought that way and put them in charge? They would quickly lose their idealism in the discovery that the fastest way to start a fight is for one well-intended person to tell another the truth. The correspondents were inspecting a line of Lend-Lease Douglas C-47s, fresh from America and wearing the red star of the Soviet Air Force. A Red Army band, peopled mainly by busty women in baggy uniforms, blared and thumped some Sousa, and the newsmen unconsciously stepped along in cadence. It was a noisy morning, what with the music and the blattering planes and the incomprehensible commentary that thundered from a loudspeaker pole down the way, and Brandt, in what seemed to be an irrelevance, remembered the misty silences of his boyhood in the Ukraine. And then he thought of his parents and how their faces glowed when they caught sight of the Statue of Liberty, and how, despite the crowd at the railing, the only sounds had been those of the ship's muted throbbings and splashings. Such recollections used to be accompanied by guilt, but he had long since outlived whatever sensibilities he might have had as a youngster. Today, he was an unfeeling... what? There was a touch on his sleeve, and he turned. "Good morning, Mr. Brandt." It was General Chesnikov, one of the diminishing few who began their soldiering under the Tsar, then survived the First War and the Revolution and its purges and the subsequent ascendancy of the political commissars in the military structure. He had often joked about his ability to survive, citing as his favorite example his execution by a company of rogue Cossacks during the uprisings of 17. He'd been shot and buried hastily in a shallow forest grave, from which he had clawed his way the following day, weak and bloody, at the feet of a thunderstruck peasant who had been gathering twigs for firewood. "Ah, sweet deliverance," Brandt said. "I've been smothering in self-pity, despairing over the boredom of this place and these people, and wondering where all the good fellows have gone. And now here you are, the best of the good ones, come to assure me that some of you are still left." The general's smile was wry, skeptical. "You are a master of blather, Mr. Brandt. Your reputation as a windy flatterer is well-deserved." "Windy maybe, but flatterer no. You are indeed the best of the good ones." "A good what? Soldier? Russian? Bolshevik?" "Well, you're all of those, to be sure, but if I didn't think it would abrade your socialistic sensitivities, I'd describe you with a good old-fashioned Middle America label, a kindly gentleman." The general sniffed and made a face. "Not only are you windy, you're sickening." "How true, but I have other traits I'm not nearly so proud of." Something was wrong, Brandt realized. Normally the general could be expected to twinkle over such broad-stroke schoolboy stuff. But this morning there was a somberness about him, a hint of something dark and hurting behind the clouded eyes. It was oddly disturbing, and Brandt decided that it must be defined. "You seem troubled, my friend. Is it something I might help you with?" he asked, suddenly serious. General Chesnikov's faded blue eyes followed a plane that twisted and turned and spun, engine moaning, high in the pale sunlight. "Keep smiling, Mr. Brandt. We are probably being watched, and I want to give the impression I am trading small talk with a mildly dotty acquaintance." "Ah, but what are you really doing?" "I am about to betray my country." Brandt worked hard to sustain his grin. "What in hell does that mean, General?" Chesnikov sighed. "I have reached the point of glut. I have been a soldier for more than 30 years now.